Today we're taking a look at the Gunbox Echo 2.0. What's going on, everyone? Back with another episode of Stuff and Things. It is time for another 5-Minute Friday, but don't start the timer just yet. Today we are taking a look at something that I've shown here on the channel before. It's something that I use every single day, but today we're gonna go a little more in depth with it because I have some cool new accessories that you guys might like as well. Today's subject is, of course, the Gunbox 2.0. The Gunbox is a great way to secure your firearm wherever you may need it for immediate access. Its clamshell construction is made out of 4mm die-cast aluminum, and it has some nice weight to it, coming in at 7.2 pounds. Keep in mind that this is not a gun safe designed to give you extreme fire protection or maximum security from intruders. Instead, this is to keep your firearm out of the hands of children and kids or anyone else that shouldn't have access to it, while still making your access to it as easy as pushing a button. It does, of course, have an internal battery that lasts 6 months on a single charge, and the whole package comes with a 1-year warranty of both parts and labor. There are 2 USB ports found on the back of the box that's perfect for charging your phone if you decide to keep this thing on your nightstand like I do myself. And there is also a tether point and pre-drilled mounting holes if you want to keep it even more secure. So with some of those specs out of the way, let's get into how this thing actually works and functions, and then we'll talk about how I personally use this. Like you can see on my shirt obviously matches the Gunbox. There's some fairly simple components to it, but there is still a lot of technology packed inside of this thing. There are 3 different ways to unlock this thing, but one of those ways kind of leads into more. So first up is the fingerprint. As you can see, there is a fingerprint scanner right here, so I will simply press the button on top, swipe my finger across there, and the Gunbox opens right up. You could scan every single finger on your hand. You could probably even scan your toes if you wanted to, but I'm not about to do that. And this fingerprint access is probably my favorite way to get into the box. Also on the top of the box, you will see a number pad here, so if you simply enter your code, which I'm not going to show you guys, as soon as you enter that last number, this thing pops right open, and that is probably the fastest way to get into here. Before we get into the last way, or a couple of ways to get into this thing, we might as well take a look at the interior. The Gunbox 2.0 obviously makes a very cool noise when you're opening it because it is opened with these 2 hydraulic arms. Yes, it is of course very functional and you don't have to actually open it with your hand, but at the same time, it is really, really cool. It makes that really cool hydraulic noise, and it just reminds me of something like out of the future. Both on the top of the lid and the bottom of the box, you can see there's some nice rubber padding. That way, if you are traveling with the Gunbox, anything that you have inside of here should not be banging around too much. On the bottom, you will also notice that you can see the pre-drilled holes that you can mount this thing up to a table, a wall, basically anywhere you want it. On the inside lid of the box, you will also find a little black button hidden in there, and that is what you will actually use to program fingerprints, different numbered key codes, and some of the other methods that give you access to this box, which we will get into now. So the last way to get inside of this box is with the RFID functions. There are a ton of different options to pick from if you don't want to use the key code or your fingerprint, and I'll start with the ones that I've shown in the past, like a simple key card. Simply press the button, wave your RFID key over it, and it opens right up. The next one that is also pretty simple is just this little key tag here. It's an RFID key. Again, I will press the button, swipe my key across it, and it opens very fast. This is something that would be great to keep on your keys, maybe if you keep your Gunbox by the front door. When I leave the house, I obviously make sure I have my cell phone, my wallet, my keys, and then my gun. Keeping this thing handy with something that you carry every single day, like your keys, it makes for a good combo. Now we're getting into the not so average RFID things, like this little wristband. If you wear watches or other things on your wrist, this probably won't be much of an issue. It is, of course, branded with the little Gunbox logo there. I'm not sure if you guys can see that. So I have this thing on, I simply press a button, swipe my wrist across it, and it pops right open. Now maybe you don't wear anything on your wrist, but you wear something else like a ring. I personally don't wear rings, and this thing actually doesn't fit me except on my pinky. Got some bling to it. You guys think I could pull off a pinky ring? Let me know in the comments down below. That was a joke. Don't let me know in the comments. I'm never going to wear a ring. But this thing works the same way. It has RFID in it, so I simply press the button, swipe my finger, ring across it, and it opens right up. And now if you don't wear rings and you want to go to something even more unconventional than all of these other methods, you can get some of these tiny little thin RFID stickers. I have actually never stuck this on anything yet, but an idea just came to mind. Now, if you're like me and you keep the Gunbox on your nightstand, you probably have a TV remote sitting right next to it. Now, I've never tried this before, but I just had the idea. Instead of sticking this thing to the remote, I'm actually gonna put it in here on top of the batteries close it up. Now imagine on your nightstand you have everything there and nothing really looks out of place. Maybe you have a fan, the gun box, a remote, a flashlight. Everything looks right at home. Now if this works, you should be able to press the button, swipe the end of your remote over it, and it will open up just like that. That is actually a pretty cool idea, and I legit just thought of that. So yeah, that is just another way that you can use something super simple, thin and tiny like this to get access to whatever you need in the gun box. So now that you've seen the functionality of this thing, what can actually fit inside of here? Obviously there is going to be enough room for a Glock 43, a spare mag or two if you need it, but let's move up a size to something like a CZ-P07. This is a little bit bigger in almost every single way. It also has a light on it, suppressor height sights, and a threaded barrel, so it of course is much longer. That fits no problem, as well as some spare mags. So now how about we swap that out for a Desert Eagle in 50 AE. Okay, the Desert Eagle is a little bit too big, but chances are that is not your nightstand gun. Something that is also pretty big, but probably more fitted to what you're actually going to be putting in here. How about a Glock 17, even with the extra height and length of a Surefire X300 and a Trijicon RMR. And of course there is still room for not one, but two spare magazines. So there you guys have it. As you can see, this thing can hold pretty much anything that you want to put in here, unless you have a Desert Eagle that you want to have on your nightstand for some reason. Now we got most of the review part out of the way. Let's stop the clock and actually talk about why I use this thing and how I use it. With what I do personally, I like to keep everything in my gun safe completely unloaded, no ammo anywhere in it. That is basically just for peace of mind when I go in and out of there all the time, bringing things out for reviews or anything else that I'm doing. I know that everything in there is safe and clear and there is no ammo anywhere to be found. I do of course have the guns that I do use and carry every single day, so that's where the gun box comes into play. As of lately, I like to use the same gun for everything, for carrying, for a nightstand gun, home protection. So say for the moment that this is that firearm. In the morning, of course, I will wake up, shower, do my typical routine, and then when I'm going out for the day, I will come over to the gun box, open this thing up, and then I get access to my gun. I'll put this in its holster, go about the day, and do things like I normally do. And then the same thing when I come back home. I will unholster my gun while keeping it hot, place it back inside of the gun box, and then close it up. Now it's sitting on my nightstand ready to go as a nightstand gun. Now when I'm sitting around, either working or maybe sleeping at night, access to my firearm is simply a button press and a finger swipe away. And now I know a lot of people are gonna say, oh, it's just so much faster if I keep my firearm sitting on my nightstand, no one's gonna touch it. And for the most part, that's fine. If that's how you wanna live your life and secure your firearm, go ahead. I personally do not like to leave loaded firearms laying anywhere around my house, even if it's only my space. And that's coming from someone who doesn't have any children or kids running around here that could get their hands on it. I just personally think it is not a good idea to leave a loaded firearm unattended in any way. I also don't really want to get into the whole debate of, oh, well, if someone breaks into my house, I can have my gun so much faster if it's not locked up in a box. And I'm not going to get into that because I already talked about it in other videos, but really, this does not take a whole lot of time. I've also done this in videos when it's timed. You're laying down in bed like you're sleeping, you hear a bump in the night, you get up, you enter your code, you swipe your finger, however you want to get into it. You draw your gun, you engage the targets, and then time. I'm really not here to have a whole debate on what is good and what is right and what is the best thing to do. Everyone's tastes and safety preferences are obviously their own preferences, but if you do have young kids running around the house, or maybe you have friends that visit all the time, it may be a good idea to think twice about having a nightstand gun just sitting in your drawer or sitting on top of your nightstand, or I've even heard of people putting guns under their pillows. I'm not here to tell you how to live your life, but I personally would not recommend doing that. If you guys want to talk about all that stuff, you can of course fight it out in the comments down below. Keep it civil though, no actual bashing and fighting, stuff like that. So that's really all that I had for today on the Gunbox 2.0. If you guys want to find out more details and specs on this thing, I will of course leave a link for it in the description down below. I actually met two of the guys from Gunbox at the last S12 event down in Nashville, Tennessee, and they were great dudes. I've stayed in contact with them and they actually gave me a discount code to pass along to you guys. If you use that code right now, I believe you will save about $30 on your order, so check it out if you're interested. I think that's all that I have for now. Definitely went over 5 minutes on the total video, but the 5-minute review, I think that was almost spot on. If you guys have any questions or you want to see anything else on the Gunbox, feel free to leave those questions in the comments down below. And if you are new to the channel, consider clicking subscribe because I make new videos every week. That's gonna be all for today, so as always, thank you guys for watching, and I'll talk to you in the next one.